We acknowledge that the traditional custodians of the land on which we are located tonight and recognise their continuing connection to their land, water and community. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands of the Awabakal people and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. Okay, well, the aim of this forum is for you, the voter, to get to know the candidates and find out how they will interact with the community and what are their objectives as a councillor, so that you can make an informed decision when it comes to voting. Invitations were sent out to all mayoral candidates, as well as the lead candidate for each party nominating in the Westward, along with the ungrouped independent. I will quickly read out in alphabetical surname order the list of candidates with us tonight, and you will meet and hear from them later. Have David Belcher, Labor Party, for councillor. Rosemary Dawson, independent, for mayor and councillor. Kay Fraser, Labor Party, for mayor. Jason Pauling, Liberal Party, for mayor and councillor. And Ingrid Schreiner, the Greens Party, for councillor. I'm not sure, the Kay Fraser was an apology that she could be running a few minutes late. She had another function, so hopefully if she's not with us yet, she will be shortly. And I can't see Jason Pauling there. Hopefully he'll join us shortly.
Jason is here.
Okay, great. I can't see him on my screen.
No, okay.
Welcome. Welcome to all the candidates, and thank you for your time as we aim to get to know you and what you stand for. Unfortunately, we did have an apology from Luke Cubis of the Lake Mac Independence Party, who is standing for mayor and councillor. However, we did note in newspapers that he is also standing at the same time up north in the Mid-Coast Council elections. There is very limited information about the Lake Mac Independence Party, with their candidates failing to complete part of the nomination form detailing information on their policies. The party's constitution is available on the Electoral Commission website for those that want to go and search. And in recent weeks, newspaper journalists have been providing a little insight about Mr. Cubis. But back to the finding out about the candidates who are with us. And their biographies are available with the link to the chat room. And the program format will be in two separate sections with different questions. The questions were provided to the candidates about 30 minutes before we commenced and will be posted on the chat room as we move through the evening, and they will also be showing up on the PowerPoint presentation on your screen. We thank the community for submitting questions, and boy, did we get some questions. The number was really overwhelming, and many were duplicated, and we have broadly combined quite a few, but have had to exclude others, particularly those that are more locality specific. And in fact, at 3 o'clock this afternoon, we were still getting huge lists of questions that people had. So we will put those on the Toronto Action Group Facebook site and encourage the candidates to review those and respond to those additional questions. The first section is for mayoral candidates, and question 1 has a time limit of 7 minutes, and Lois is the timekeeper, and we have another, Mel is the mute button. So we do ask you, when you get your warning from Lois, to acknowledge, well, accept that, and when the end sign goes up on the message, please conclude that sentence and complete. So the questions for the mayoral candidates, question One has the 7 minutes and 2 to 3 minutes, and they will be asked in alternate alphabetically order by surname. The second section will be for the Westward councillors, and there'll be 5 questions on community issues with varying times, ranging from 1 minute to 6 minutes. And again, each question alternatively of the next candidate in line while starting in alphabetical order. Now, following completion of all the questions, and this will depend a little bit on available time, we do hope to be able to give each candidate 1 minute to give their concluding remarks. And I've said to you, Lois and Mel will be looking after the timing. I will just read through the mayoral questions to start with. And question 1 is, explain your vision of what Lake Macquarie will be like in about 5 years from now, and how you will address the challenges that we face in that journey. In your response, please include your approach to the current pressure for infill development, our rapidly expanding population, and the current lack of necessary infrastructure that is now impacting on our quality of life. Question 2 is, what specific issues do you see relating to Westward in regards to balancing social, economic, and environmental needs? I will go through the other questions and read them out so the audience and everyone is aware of them, and then we'll come back and start the mayoral, and hopefully we'll be able to flow through from there. The Westward councillor questions, and I'm going to oh no, Suzanne's keeping up with me with the slides. The first question is straightforward. Could you briefly introduce yourself, including who you are, where you live, in what local community groups are you active, why you want to be an elected councillor, and what experience and skills would you bring to council? The second question has 2 parts. And by way of background, the second part relates to community concerns that the Yes Minister TV show is present at Lake Macquarie with different priorities and agendas between some councillors and some senior staff. And so I'll read the question out. If elected, what do you want to achieve while on council, and what issues do you consider to be particularly important? How do you intend to work with fellow councillors and senior staff to ensure the preferred outcomes for both council and the community are achieved? The third question, which has 1 minute, and this is again by way of background, we did receive a number of complaints from the community that some councillors are difficult to contact and are remote from what they believe the community wants. And so the question is, if elected, how do you intend to engage with residents and businesses of the West Ward? Question 4 is a lengthy one with 6 minutes and in 2 different aspects. And so it goes, what are your views on these community identified issues confronting the West Ward? The first 3 are on foreshore and land management. First is increasing open space, including foreshore parkland. 2 is maximum heights and densities near the foreshore. And 3 is water quality in the lake and creeks, including protection of the foreshore lands. And whilst that one is dear to my heart, I can assure you that it didn't originate from me. The next section is on livability and resilience. And the first one is availability of car parking, safe cycling, and safe walking. 2 in that section is the need for parkland and the need to rezone operational land to community land, like Bath Street, Toronto. The next one, 3, is protection of tree canopy and, and shade. So quite a few short questions there with 6 minutes to go. Question 5 is Council's professional communication strategies with 2 minutes. In view of community concerns that Council is adept at, inverted commas, spinning community feedback and publicity, what do you see as your role in ensuring that Council properly addresses community concerns openly? Okay, we'll go back to the mayoral questions. And so Rosemary Dawson will go first, followed by Kay Fraser, followed by Jason Pauling for the first question. And then we'll skip one and Kay Fraser will go first for question 2, Jason Pauling 2, and Rosemary 3rd. We may, if Kay hasn't joined us, need to go a little bit differently and hopefully catch up with Kay at the end. So Rosemary, would you like to begin your answer to question 1, please?
Thank you, Jeff. In 5 years, I hope to see a far more renewable energy source built for our city. I will defer to experts in that area to see what and how we can do it. I believe they've already done some investigations. We can do that, whether or wind or other ways. I hope to see development, and probably more state government, but development to compulsory water tanks, for instance, and solar, and community, so that when we have disasters like the 2000 Hashabolka storm, where we were all left without electricity for a week, we avoid those individual pressures by making brand new developments, it would have to be, include these features in their design and actually built. So perhaps some sort of incentive scheme. The state government is providing incentives to put in solar panels. That would be ideal to promote and get moving in the city. I know we've got a very fast take up of solar panels, so that's fantastic. But community batteries, where the excess is preserved for, well, rainy days. The current lack of infrastructure is based on some pretty, I believe, diabolical algorithms. For instance, footpaths. In the last, and I'm not sure if it's been reviewed since, but the footpath strategy for the city in 2016 said that the very next path for the Morisset Town Centre would be in 11 years' time. And that's still 5 years away. And here we have major town centres that are lacking safety and connected footpaths for accessibility. I'm a bit tired of seeing people on power scooters on the road. They should be able to access our town centres at the very least. And I accept that most of our city will never have footpaths and drainage and guttering as many people hope to see in their smaller streets. But what we need to concentrate on is that our major centres are connected, and they're connected by safe footpaths that go directly to the local shops, the major shops in our town centres, etc. Encouraging bicycle riding, for instance, into town, rather than taking a car for a small trip. So I really hope that we can create a vision for our city that includes renewables, affordable housing. I think we're going to get to another point in another question. So affordable housing, there is too much homelessness at the moment. There are so many ways we can look at creating even transitional accommodation for our homeless, and affordable housing for our young people. At this point in the rise in values, our young people are going to find it really difficult to buy their own homes when they are ready to. Transport, electric vehicles, vehicle charging points to support that, all over the city. So we have a carbon neutral city at some point. I'll defer to experts on how that will work, but I want to work with the staff and the community to bring projects like that to fruition sooner rather than later. These bureaucratic processes need to be changed, and pressure needs to be put probably more on the state government to assist us as a city to operate in that manner. Forgive me, I think that's all I can espouse at this point. But yes, so a renewable city is what I see in 5 years to start with.
Okay, thanks very much, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Okay, if we could go to Jason Pauling with question number 1 of the mayoral questions, please.
G'day, Jeff. I don't know if you can see me. I can't see myself in the video yet.
Oh, I can see you now, Jason. Yeah.
Well, I can't see me. I presume I'm centre screen. Thanks for having me. Always a tricky one.
Jason, you might just want to talk a little bit closer to your microphone. You're a bit far back or something. Yeah.
Ah, that seems a bit odd. Okay, Bluetooth, we should be good, I would have thought. I don't know that I can adjust that.
Okay.
Can you hear me or not? I'll be louder. I can be loud. But yeah, okay, the vision thing's always tricky in terms of, first of all, like the mayor is not, oh, thank you, there's a video. The mayor isn't infinitely powerful. The mayor is influential, but they don't have the power to deliver all these things. Words are cheap, but action is the real bit. And mayor is for the whole city, not just the Westward. And I think it's very dangerous to rattle off a whole pack of wish lists where there hasn't been appropriate scrutiny or consultation at that level. From my perspective, I'm about rational decisions and creating opportunity. It's about balance and fixing the backlog. You get no argument from me. Westward has been neglected from an infrastructure perspective by state, federal, and I think local government. I would say fair bet for decades. In terms of some of the things you talked about, absolutely there's pressure for infill. But that's a difficulty in itself, in that if we have people wanting to live here, or if we have our children having grandchildren and they want to live locally, they need somewhere to live. And the difficulty is we infill, or we clear, or we go higher. And all those things involve trade-off. And I'm sure the group here has their own views on that. So given the choice of clearing more land or supporting infill, I think there's a good strong argument for infill, because Westward, natural beauty is one of its key elements. And so that's what I would ask everyone to consider in terms of the city is incredibly unlikely to be static. The city is growing, the city needs more work, and it's the mayor's job to help bring about that process in a balanced and rational way. So for me, Westward particularly suffers lack of facilities. Everyone you talk to in Westward says, hey, look, Northward gets the lot. And I think they're pretty true. Westward waits. I've used that catch cry before. Northward gets, Eastward dithers, and Westward waits. That's not fair. Rosie highlighted that. Some of these footpaths are a long, long way away. part of that modelling related to population growth and density. That doesn't help Westward as a rule. Westward is very, very large. So when you've got a spread out population over a large area, the density is lower. And so when you put a matrix, decision-making matrix that says, hey, look, where should we put a footpath? Oh, look at all the people in Charlestown that use it. Charlestown gets all the footpaths. And once again, we've seen that. Equally, Northward, where's that? Warners Bay. They get all the footpaths. They get lots of traffic based on density. Westward's had a hard run in that regard. So in my role as councillor, which I think is realistic, my tilt for mayor, probably not so realistic. Certainly I'm going to fly the flag, but I think the smart money is on Kay again there, right or wrong. So I am a realist. I talk straight and I express my views. I've gone to great pains to structure the bio that I hope everyone listening bothers to go and read, in that it is the bearing of my soul. If you read that, for me or against me, that's how it is. That is what I believe in, and that's what I intend to deliver, and that's how I will behave. I know I've wrangled with a lot of you over Bar Street, and I know we don't agree on that one. So later on when we talk about what should Bar Street be, I would still love to see a fantastic facility there. I would still love to see the Royal Motor Yacht Club expanded, and we can deliver car parking, parkland, and an awesome facility, because it's about balance. That's the only way we can do this. And that's the tragedy of Bar Street. If you ask one person, they say it should be a car park. You ask someone else, it should be a high rise. You ask someone else, it should be parkland. You ask most of this group, I think they say it should be community land. The populace is very diverse, and that's the challenge. And so in terms of mayor and council, you need multifaceted in both instances. My primary focus, rates, roads, rubbish, economic responsibility, and less fluff. Given the choice of building a footpath or some sort of statue for $175,000 round on Warners Bay Foreshore, I reckon I'd build the footpath every single time. In that regard, I would also assert, re-elected, one of my key goals is to bring the power and decision-making back to councillors. Bureaucrats at all levels of government have taken too much power upon themselves. It's the elected officials that are elected for the people, by the people, to represent. And that's across the whole gambit. So in Westward, you have 4 councillors. They're all incredibly unlikely to be of the same ilk. And then you get the diversity of debate, diversity of value set that hopefully lead to good balanced outcomes. And once again, I look at the council right now and I say congratulations. Good job, Kay. Kay's held it on an even keel. I wasn't a fan of Kay for the first 2 years of this term. Many of you would have seen us clash numerous times. To her absolute credit, hats off. So that's 1 minute, or that's 1 minute to go, or is that time?
1 minute.
Okay, cool. So council has worked fairly well. Yes, there's been some interesting issues here and there. And where it has been adversarial, we've dealt with them and come to a collective position. And that's where I am. But in terms of forthright, how things work, my vision, a great place, pretty much continuation of where we are. Council has moved to its 4 pillars of sustainability approach. And I think that's a huge bonus, because no matter how you play it, between the various aspects of life, and this will come out in some of the other questions as well, if economic opportunity isn't there, the residents suffer. If environmental opportunity isn't there, the residents suffer. If governance isn't there, the people suffer. This is all about making sure that everything fits together nicely so that things work. And I'm very proud to be part of the current council. Generally, I think we've done a good job.
Time's up.
At Westward's expense.
Time's up. Thanks, Jason. I understand Kay has arrived.
I have.
Hi, Kay. Thanks
Hello,
for
everyone.
coming.
My pleasure.
Have you had a chance to have a look at the question?
I have not. I've just had the pleasure of introducing Sir Peter Cosgrove here to Rathmines Theatre. And I just bought his book. So very exciting. to be with him.
Okay.
What a fantastic man, his lovely
I'll-
wife. So that's what I do as the mayor.
Okay, I'll give you I'll quickly read it, but it will be up on the screen.
Yes,
And
I
there's
can
2
see it.
questions. And the first question with a 7-minute time is explain your vision of what Lake Macquarie will be like in about 5 years from now and how you will address the challenges that we face in that journey. In your response, please include your approach to the current pressure for infill development, our rapidly expanding population, and the current lack of necessary infrastructure that is impacting on our quality of life.
Thank you, Jeff. It's lovely to be here. I'm sorry I missed Rosie and I just heard the end of Jason, but can I say how proud I am to be the mayor of this beautiful city. So it's been a bit over 5 years. I think I've been pretty blessed. I should have went to the election last year. We had 2 false starts. And can I also acknowledge Councillor Jason Pauling. Jason and I did have a bit of a rounds of tables the first couple of years, but he had Councillor Kevin Baker with him as well. So I think he was a bit sort of not on track, that he wasn't working at his best. But I do respect Councillor Jason Pauling for his wonderful work on the western side of the lake. And Rosie, I work with Rosie as a councillor, so it's nice to have Rosie here. And I don't know if you have any other councillors here. I'm not sure. I can't see who you have here. But my vision for the city of Lake Macquarie, now we're growing 209,000 people. We're a city that has 95 suburbs. We're growing really fast. And the secret's out. People know where Lake Macquarie is now, and everyone wants to move here. So at the moment, our city has changed from manufacturing and mining, what we used to do. We used to do a lot of that, but now we're sort of in construction. We're doing more of that. So for me, I want to make sure that our city is set up to provide those jobs for my kids, for my grandchildren, and for your kids and grandchildren as well. That's really important. We need to make sure that our city can thrive. Our city has that job. Our city is affordable, has affordable living, and our city looks after everyone. Everyone has to be looked after. And I'll have to apologise. I'm in my car because I've just left the theatre. So I want to make sure, I want to set this city up. And that's what I've been doing as the mayor. Not only has I been looking after, the financial management of the council, and you'll know that we have a modest surplus now. I made sure we had a modest surplus. That was one of the things that I wanted to deliver before this election, to say, look, we've been through COVID, we've been through 2 years. Council's delivered $100,000 just this year under my leadership, our community. I had a mayoral minute, and that was really important for me to do that. We've looked after community groups and all those groups out there. We've looked after our staff at 1,300, which is really important. We've got a staff of 1,300. We need to make sure we look after them as well. Plus, it was looking after our city. So we had a number of programs that we introduced. We introduced the LIFT program. We went into collaboration and partnership with the Avondale University. And that was a program to make sure that people were feeling well and feeling okay to be at home on their own and not seeing their family members. That went for 7 weeks. I joined the LIFT program. Initially, we thought that, it was free. It was online. Every week you had a different challenge, whether it was just go and say hello to your neighbour or just walk around the block. And I know that you're probably wondering where I'm going, but this is really important for our city. So we thought there was only a couple of hundred people going to put their hand up. It was over 4,000 people put their hand up. That's what council does. They provide not only infrastructure, not only footpaths, not only facilities, but we provide that social justice, social equity to look after our community. Because if we're a city that's growing, we need to make sure we bring the whole community with us. I've got to make sure that I look after our most vulnerable. I look after people who are doing it tough, people who are at home on their own with COVID. I want to make sure that I do all of that. But I also want to make sure that we have those jobs for the future. And that's why we need to grow as a city. And that's why some of those things that we're doing now, and it's really exciting what we're doing. Like if you look about what we're doing now with we're talking about it, we have a grant into the federal government. We had the Prime Minister come up here a couple of weeks ago, and we've signed a partnership with the Port of Newcastle because we want to have our waste trucks going green. We want them to be powered by hydrogen. We don't want them to be on diesel. We want to reduce our carbon footprint. So what we're doing is we're front and centre. We're a progressive council. We're wanting to get our trucks, our waste trucks, powered by hydrogen, because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we have those jobs. If we have our waste trucks, using hydrogen, that will bring a whole lot of jobs to our city. That will bring new jobs, which is really exciting. So that's some of the things we're doing. And we look at our circular economy that we've got. We've got a fantastic woman leading that at the moment. And she is renowned in New South Wales as someone who is at the forefront. Now, the joint organisation of councils, which there's 10, she's leading in that area, talking about how we design out our waste. So we're doing that at Lake Macquarie. A lot of criticism from other councillors and in my council, but it was successful. It achieved what we wanted to achieve. We reduced our budget because we didn't have to spend all that money on paying the state government for our landfill. So what we're doing now, we're looking at how we can produce greener footpaths, greener roads, and we're doing that. We introduced, and that was one of the things that I went to the campaign with last time, was using recycled material. We've done that. We've got the glass sand that we're using in our footpaths. Very successful. We're using soft plastics in our road. That's another wonderful thing we're doing. We're the first council in Australia to have a framework for circular economy. Like, these are the exciting things we're doing, but there's a lot more to be done. There's so much to be done in our city, but it's really exciting to think about what we can do as a city, but we need to bring everyone with us. We need to have a city that we can promote events like we've got tonight, promote all around our city. We've got a beautiful Rathmines theatre. We're going to have events on here all the time. We're going to have people coming out to our city from Newcastle, Central Coast, wherever, spending money here, keeping those small businesses in their jobs and making sure that small business can hire more people. Yes, we're going to have pressure for infill development, and that's great, because what we need is, we don't want that urban sprawl. My son lives at Cameron Park and he loves it out there, but we're knocking down trees, we're going out further, so we need to have infill development. And when we have infill development, have more people in our suburbs, we'll get more public transport. We'll have more accessibility to different things, and yes, there is and I'm just looking at the questions here. The infrastructure, again, if you look at what's been spent on the western side of the lake over the last 5 years, it's more than North and it's more than Eastward. And I can give you those figures. So I don't know what the other's been saying, but that's absolutely wrong. We've delivered so much. We spent $15 million in YE on roads. We've done up all the footpaths. We just delivered that shared pathway at Bay Vista Road from Bonnells Bay to Brightwaters. We're doing Spears Point to Glendale, and the fast track. We're doing so many footpaths.
That's the time, if you could finish up there, please.
Done.
Thank you.
There was so much to fit in that.
Yeah, you did well. We now go on to question 2, and for your benefit, I'll read the question out. This is a 3-minute question. What specific issues do you see relating to Westward in regards to balancing social, economic and environmental needs? Now, we wanted to change the order, but because you've gone last, what we may do here is bring Jason in first, followed by yourself and followed by Rosemary. So Jason, if you wouldn't mind answering question 2, the mayoral question, please.
Yep, all good. We're good to go, Jeff?
Yes.
Yep, cool. I'll just wait for myself to come up. Maybe not, I guess. There we go. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yep, no, sweet. So Westward, like previously I spoke about the balance and trade-offs that needs to happen. For me, the biggest issues in Westward are all about addressing inequity. As I said before, Westward's big, so it has the tyranny of distance working against us. That creates issues in terms of the infrastructure that it's had. Once again, as accolades I gave Kay earlier in the current council, there is a bit of spending, but there's decades of backlog. Anyone trying to drive through Morisset at peak time, once again, there's lots of money that needs to be spent. Anyone trying to move on any of those major arterial roads at a peak time, there's lots of money that needs to be spent. So there is that infrastructure backlog and inequity that needs to be dealt with. There's a social inequity. So everyone deserves appropriate opportunity. That's difficult for a whole pack of reasons, whether it's economic balance. So you have incredible imbalances of wealth within Westford. You have incredible imbalance of opportunity resulting from that. And there's some of the key elements. By creating opportunity and a vibrant city that balances some of these elements, then we address those key issues. But for me, for Westward, it's all about dealing with inequity. That is the key issue, no matter how you look at it, whether it's distance, economics, social, environmental. It's all about the trade-offs between those various inequities. And Westward's got them all at both extremes. That all needs to come closer to the middle. That'll do me, Jeff. I got nothing else to say on that one.
Okay, thank you. If we go to you, please, Kay, to answer
Yes.
that question too.
Yep, lovely. So yes, there's issues all around our city, you know, with your social, environmental and economical, but I'm really pleased. You probably, and I hope you do know that we introduced a 85% reduction on developer contributions for social and affordable housing. And you might have read in the paper that there is going to be 23 new homes for vulnerable people, and 18 of those will be in Morisset. And there'll be 5 for people with a disability, and there'll be 5 in YE. And that's happened because we endorsed 85% reduction in our developer contributions. So developers are looking at spending I think it was around $5 million in YE and substantially more in Morisset. So these are the things that we can do as a council, make sure there's affordable housing, there's housing for people with a disability, to make sure that happens, because there are people who are hurting out there. There isn't enough affordable housing. We also need to make sure that there's investment out there as well. So council's been working very closely to make sure that Morisset is our next economic centre. And when we talk about the roads out there, well, I'm totally focused on getting Manlong Road obviously fixed up. That widening has to happen onto the M1. Now, what the state government has done, and I'm critical of them, they've taken money from developers who are, you know, have their development applications in, they're bringing money to the Morisset area. State government has been collecting that money. And then when we say, hang on a minute now, now's the time, you're not going to approve this latest development because you're saying Manlong Road needs to be upgraded. So where's the money that the developer has given you? Well, the state government says, I don't know, we'll spend it somewhere else. So we have a problem with that. You know, where is that money? So that's one of the things. Environmental, I think on the western side of the lake, we're doing really well. You know, if we look what we're doing, we've got over 200 land care groups all around our city. Inequity, I don't think there's an inequity issue between east, north or west. I hear it everywhere I go. When I talk to people at Swansea, they say we don't get anything. But seriously, if you have a look around our city, if you have a look at our plans, you have a look at what we've delivered over the last 5 years, seriously have a look at that, you will see how fair it has been around our city. And I can justify that, and I can honestly say to you that the West has not missed out on anything. Yes, more needs to be spent, absolutely. I would love to be able to provide footpaths everywhere. I'd love to be able to provide infrastructure for everyone. You know, we spent $7 million on Toronto Pool. We're spending $9 million on the Foreshore at Toronto. We've done up the main street of Toronto. We've got the streetscape happening. You know, there's so much infrastructure that has gone out there, but obviously there needs to be more. I understand that. And I'm saying to you, I'm a mayor of the people. I'm the mayor who will only tell you what I will deliver. I won't say I'll deliver something and then not deliver that. That's not me. I told you I'd double the footpath capacity. I did that. I did that all around our city. So I'm very accessible. I'm open door. You know what you get with me. I've been the mayor for over 5 years, and you know I will deliver for you.
Okay, that completes? Thanks, Kate. Rosemary, would you like to give your answer to question 2 of the mayoral questions, please?
Thank you, Jeff. I have to say I agree greatly with Jason. There is a huge amount of imbalance with what we receive. I agree with Kay that we are getting some bigger projects that we've missed out on for a very long time, and grateful for that. But they've been in the planning for well, if you look at the developer contributions plan that we adopted in 2012, I think that I haven't got the figure right off the top of my head, but there's something like 80 something projects that were scheduled to be delivered between 2015 and 2020 that haven't even been looked at. There's no pre-planning designs or for quite a few pretty major projects. The very delivery of projects produces extra employment in the area. Developments produce employment and therefore boost our economic growth. But sometimes it can be at the detriment of our environment. So finding those balances is quite intricate, and it's important to understand that we cannot compromise our environment and our lake to to enable developers to build huge developments, as we have several proposals around West Lake Macquarie being lodged at the moment. There's a rezoning for Trinity Point, and it creates jobs, but what will it cost us in the environment? And you know, free visual access to the lake, as well as you know, how the lake benefits from heavy population around the water's edge. It's the balancing that is the question. Finding ways forward, trying to deliver. I mean, bypass for Morisset would relieve so much, but that's a massive project. I mean, talking tens of millions of dollars, and the state government's got to finance that essentially. And Kay's right, they're not giving us money for major projects like Glendale Interchange and a bypass for Morisset and so forth. So as a mayor, as a mayor and councillor, I'll work towards driving the delivery of backdated projects and increasing the social, economic and environmental delivery of projects. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosemary. The major part of tonight was the Westward councillors, and so that concludes the mayoral section. Kay, we understand you're parked on the side of the road in your car with a laptop. So if you wish to head home, we're finished, and we appreciate your time. But if you would like to observe, you're most welcome to stay on. So I'll leave that.
Absolutely. I'd love to listen to Councillor Belcher, who has a great contribution at council, and also the candidates there. I'd love to hear what their vision is for the Westward and how we can all work together as a council, because that's really important to me.
Most welcome. Good to have you. Okay, we'll now go on to the Westward councillor questions. And question 1 was the introduction. And David Belcher is first. So David, if you could lead off with your answer to question 1, please.
Absolutely, Jeff. And thank you everyone for having me here tonight. So my name is David Belcher. I live at Brightwaters out on the Morisset Peninsula. I've been living here for the last 17 years now. It's an area that is like a small town, an area that I'm incredibly passionate about and feel really connected to the local community groups here. Those community groups, I've been a member until recently of the South Lakes Hammerheads, the local rugby union club, which I've served in various capacities, including secretary and president for a period of time. Unfortunately, because of the changing populations and demographics of the area, that club is now defunct, but it was certainly a very enjoyable experience while I was there. Why would I want to be elected as councillor? I guess I'd like to just firstly talk about my time as a councillor. Having served my first term over the last 5 and a bit years, it has been an incredible privilege to represent the people of Lake Macquarie, and in particular, the people of the Westward. We're an incredibly diverse community spread out over a massive distance. When I speak to friends and family who don't live in the area about the distance from Currumbong, Hawaii up to around Argenton, Lakelands, that being one whole ward in a large community is they're quite amazed on it. So I want to be a councillor because I want to represent people on my area, particularly focusing around disability. I'm a person with a lived experience of disability and a wheelchair user. And it's that skill set and knowledge and just different perspective that I believe I can bring to council, and something that I believe I've already able to change the focus and mindset on council as it relates to disability. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. Rosemary, would you like to answer question 1 of the councillors, please?
Rosemary, you'll need to, thanks, Rosemary.
Thank you. So I'm Rosemary Dawson. I've been a resident of the Morisset district for 21 years. I live in Neighbourhood. I have been extremely active in the community for over 16 years. And I was the founding president of the South Lake Business Chamber and Community Alliance. I sat on the Morisset Showground Trust for 2010 to 2017, and then was nominated on the committee of the Community Operating Committee of the Showground, amongst many other appointments, Currumbong Chamber of Commerce and more. I'd like to be elected as a councillor to continue work for the community, to follow up on all the projects I've listed, and in my electoral material. And I really want to deliver as well in consultation and conciliation with my fellow councillors and the mayor. I have wanted to catch up on so many of the projects that haven't been delivered yet, and even more that I'm sure a new council will introduce to the community. My experience as a former councillor, 2012 to 2016. I have elected member skill set as a qualification, a diploma of management, and I've worked with youth for the last 9 years at the PCYC.
Okay, thanks, Rosemary. Jason, would you mind answering question 1, please?
Yep, all good, Jeff. So from my perspective, I won't take these in order, but the key one, where do you live? I know that's a prickly one. I don't live in Westward. I live in, my wife owns a house in Ilmore Vale, but I've lived here for 7 years. I didn't live here. I didn't live in Westward last election either. That said, I've got interests in Westward and I have passion for Westward. I work in Westward. So at the moment, I spend 10 hours a day in Westward as Chief Operating Officer for a company that works in the healthcare industry. In terms of who am I? I'm average Joe, man of the people, started in the steelworks, BHP, blue collar worker. But since then, I've devoted myself to lifelong learning. I've got degrees in science, environmental management, that one might surprise some of you, business and law. What I bring to council is a wide understanding across a whole pack of subject matter. I bring accountability. I'm the one that asks the hard questions. I'm the one that has the behind the scenes discussions with staff. When there's a difficult concept to deal with, that's me. In terms of getting your mate on council because he helps you out, you know, he does the linesman at the local soccer club, I'm not your guy. Go find someone else. But if you want someone who's going to talk straight, understand the issues, hold bureaucrats to account, and delve into some of these more complex matters, then I'm your guy. I've tried very hard to do that for Westward. Sorry, that time?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yep, cool. So why do I want to be elected for Westward? I've lived most of my life in Lake Macquarie. At the moment, the bulk of my interests are in Westward. That's where it is. I love Westward. It's enormous. Even if I don't live in the top end, like if I lived at Warners Bay like I used to, how relevant is that to YE relative to Elmore Vale? Stuff all. It's a big place. I drive down there regularly. I spend most of my life in Bullaroo.
That's time.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Ingrid Schreiner, can we have your answer to question 1, please?
Hello, everybody. I have no idea whether you can see me. My computer has just given up, so I'm using my little phone here. Does that work? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So the questions, I'm struggling, of course, reading them through my glasses now. Who am I? I was born in Switzerland. I grew up there, studied economics, worked for the United Nations Development Program and a number of other people all over the world, and eventually settled on the western side of Lake Macquarie. I live in Tirolba. What community groups am I involved with? Apart from the Greens, whom I hope to represent on council, I founded the Coal Ash Community Alliance together with others when the report about the 100 million tons of coal ash that are stored around Lake Macquarie was published. I'm part actually still of the Sustainable Neighbourhood group in Toronto, even though I haven't been able to go to many meetings. Sorry for this moving all around, and I think there's a light in the background. Or is it just my glasses? Maybe it's just my glasses. I'm part of the Wakefield Brigade of the RFS, and I have ventured out to a number of community groups in around Trinity Point. I've been contacted by the people in Monibang and a number of others. I'm working at the moment for the Hunter Community Environment Centre, looking at what can be done that is environmentally sound and economically viable with coal ash. So why do I want to be a councillor? Because I think the experience I bring with me from having worked all over the world in economic and community development, I think that would be very useful working on Lake Macquarie Council. And I'll try to contribute what I can to that. Is that the question?
That is time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we go to question 2. And Rosemary, if you could start off with your answer for number 2, please.
Rosemary, you need to unmute yourself as well.
Yeah, I've got it now. Thank you.
Okay.
So I've mentioned before, there's a lot of projects in Westward that still need to be delivered. I will work with the council to find out where everything is at the moment, because I don't know, but try and expedite wherever I can. We as a council will have to work with each other and with our senior staff and all the staff as well to be completely briefed on what's going on, and to try and negotiate ideas that we know the community would be looking at. So I want to be very conciliatory to deliver those items. And I'm just noticing there's lights that are making my face blue, so forgive me there. So it will be an honour to work on these projects, to see them to come to fruition, even the little things that I managed to achieve as a councillor formerly, you know, delivery of bus stops, delivery of bus stops, and so forth. It's gratifying, and I really would like to, you know, continue that process in the term of on council as a councillor. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rosemary. Jason, would you like to answer question 2, please?
Yep, all good, Jeff. Thank you. So from my perspective, what I want to achieve, what issues do I want to, what do I consider most important? They're the ones that people bring me. I've taken great pride in where if a member of the community has cared enough to reach out to me for help, I've done whatever I can to help them. Whether I support them or not, I've tried to give them every opportunity for their perspective to prevail. And that is either to convince me that they're right if we disagree, or to help them against the cold bureaucracy of council if they don't. So for me, it's those little issues. Like in terms of what's the big issues, everyone could talk about those, and council has plans and policies to deal with them. Hats off again, Kay, you've played a great part in that. Congratulations. But from my perspective, it's those issues that people bring you, that they've come up against the bureaucracy and they've been shut down. They don't understand the rules of engagement in dealing with council. They're the ones that need the help the most, and they're the issues that are most important to me. Let's have a look at my email. I've got 50,000 emails in my council account, and but more importantly, I have sent 15,000 emails through my council account. That's the degree of work that I've put in supporting this council over the last nearly decade. That hasn't changed, and that's been all about the little people with their problems, where council won't let them do what they want, or council won't support them, or council's harassing them, or whatever that might be. In terms of working with fellow councillors, once again, sometimes that's prickly.
Check.
But that's part of democracy. Time or a bit more?
30 seconds.
Yep, cool. Last night was this term of council's final meeting. After that meeting, I think I shook hands with just about every Labor councillor. We've sparred, we've clashed really hard, and Kay's a good example. Kay and I have clashed really hard at various times, but we leave it on the field. That's what democracy is about. It's about fierce debate and clash of value sets. And then after it, dust off and move on and go again on the next matter. It's not about budget. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Ingrid, would you like to answer question 2, please?
Yes, I'm not sure what, yeah, okay. My big thing is the development, and I would really like to see and work hard for a local environment development plan together with council staff, together with other councillors, to develop an LEP that is based on the knowledge we can gain now. If we ask for particular studies to be done so that we have a scientific basis for a current LEP, which gives us the opportunity to discuss with the community and to get a common vision. What development do we want for Lake Macquarie? And put that into a format that has a binding structure so that the developers exactly know what the expectations are of them, what they can do and what they can't do. Within council, I think between the councillors, it has to be a collaboration. We have to find a way through to do things together. It has to be a give and take. We have to look for common ground. With regards to council staff, senior or less senior, to me, a council is like a board in a big business. At the end of the day, the buck stops with the council, and The council is what gives the direction. The council staff are the ones who have the details, who brief the councillors. But
I'm
it's
Jack,
councillors'
30
job to
seconds.
ask the important questions and to follow through to get the answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingrid. David, would you like to answer question 2, please?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. I guess what I want to achieve if I'm re-elected to council is a continuation in a large part to what we've started. Whilst I agree with Mayor Fraser on many issues, I'm sure she can attest that I will never stop fighting for a greater share of the pie when it comes to the Westward in Lake Macquarie. We have made some great steps, particularly in the areas of accessibility. I'm thinking about the increase in shared pathways around the Westward, but as you'd all know, that's still a long, long way to go. There is a backlog with that sort of stuff, and I'll continue to be pushing for a more connected Western Lake Macquarie. We've made also great strides in parks and swimming pools as well. The development at Toronto, as Mayor Fraser mentioned, and the upgrade of Bernie Goodwin Oval in Morisset, which has been a long time coming, are great examples. And it's those kind of infrastructure projects that I'm really committed and really passionate about delivering for people in Western Lake Macquarie. The way I want to do that, though, and as I'm sure Councillor Pauling and Mayor Fraser can attest, is in a collegial way. I don't see council as adversarial. I think it's really destructive when it does work in an adversarial way. So it's about working together to achieving the best outcomes for all people in Lake Macquarie, and that's something I'm really want to continue doing.
30 seconds.
The council that I've worked on has always been one of a collegial nature, and that's something I want to continue on moving forward. And the staff in a similar way. There's no way that councillors can direct and force staff to do stuff. So it's about working with staff to achieve great outcomes for the residents of Lake Macquarie.
Okay, thanks, David. We now go on to question 3. And Jason, you get a turn at going first with this one, please.
Yep. Once again, Jeff, I think I'd run pretty much as I have. As I said, I've got a fairly responsible job. I'm nice and busy. I am in Westward, and I've got staff wandering around Westward all day, every day. So feedback comes back. But it is the electronic age, point being this session being online. And so for me, electronic means is a big part. We can fix so many things so quickly with appropriate engagement. Anyone watching this has at least a computer or a phone. Pictures, submissions with someone to fight on their behalf and advocate appropriately in council is one of the key issues of how that works. So for me, I really don't see much changing. In terms of community engagement, whenever I put a table out, people haven't wanted to come and speak to me. It's been a little disappointing, to tell you the truth. We'll probably try the market thing again. But as I said, I've been hugely disappointed in most instances where I have created opportunity because for some reason people are scared of councillors. Hopefully that changes, because at the end of the day, we are just ordinary people trying to do the best for the people we represent.
Time.
Okay, thank you. Ingrid, if you'd like to answer question 3, please.
Yes, thank you. Look, to me, the question is to go where the people are. We have 47 suburbs in the Westward. I can't just say, I will be accessible, I will have an open door. Yes, I will have fixed times when I'm available in a particular place, but then really it is to engage with the community groups, with the people where they are. So say it's what's coming up this weekend, opening the new sports facility out in Coorambong. If I at all can, I will make an effort to go there and see what's going on, to be out there. When you're out there in the community, we meet. I think that's short and sweet. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. David, would you like to answer question 3, please?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. this is a tricky one, only because the sheer numbers of people in the Westward means that it is difficult to adhere to everyone's emails and queries in a timely manner. But I've always done my best to reach out to community groups. South Lakes Business Chamber being one of, or Business and Community Alliance, sorry, was one of those groups that I had a really great working relationship with, and got to meet a lot of really great, committed, passionate residents, mostly in the Morisset Currumbong areas. So worked really closely with those guys, and I think it's those sort of groups are really important. So I've noticed tonight there is a number of those community groups in Westward, which is fantastic. They're great that they're all here tonight. And so I guess it's about an establishment and continuation in some respects of my relationship with those guys.
Okay, thanks, David.
Thank you.
Rosemary, would you like to answer question 3, please?
Thank you. I'll do as I always have done in connecting to the community. I have had morning tea with the men's shed today, so that is an effective way of meeting and speaking with people directly. That's just an example. I've run community events, connected with all business in the area and community through my children and their activities. Many people feel connected to me. I believe I had a good reputation in my last term of responding promptly and actually doing what I said I would do. And it is a case of keeping communication open as much as possible. Yes, you would need to relegate a period of time each day to answer your emails when you're working full time. But having said that, it's vital. It's vital in responding to people's inquiries. So I'd keep up all of my community connections to many, many groups that I am quite close to over the years. Attend local meetings, attend local initiatives that are happening, as the opening of the Currumbong Park on Sunday would be an excellent way to chat to people.
That's time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rosemary. We now go on to question 4, which is a list of specific issues, and there's 6 minutes for each speaker. Ingrid, would you like to lead us off this time, please?
Yeah, now I'm struggling to see them. Okay, my views on the increasing open space, including Foreshore Parkland. Look, that's one very close to my heart. I do think, as a matter of principle, the Foreshore should be public. And that's for, is there a particular one on Toronto? Oh yeah, that comes later. Similar for maximum heights and density near the foreshore. It needs, look, I am in favor of higher density to minimize the urban sprawl, that's true. But if the foreshore is a space that is shared, right on the foreshore is not the best place for high density, in my opinion. And any project like that that infringes on land that is for the community, and even if it's only indirectly, I think that needs to be a project that is good enough to be able to get a social license from the people so that they can work together and that the community can still enjoy the amenity of the foreshore. The water quality in the lake and creeks, including protection of the foreshore lands, that is very, in my opinion, something that needs to go where the LEP, the local environmental plan, needs to be stronger. I think our lake struggles a lot with the increased runoff from huge developments that are not done to best practice. So a lot of work has happened, that is true, on the water quality, but much more needs to happen. And in particular, we need to look forward to make sure we don't create new problems. Muddy Lake is one of the typical problems on that one. I just want to see whether that I can get through all of them. Parking, safe cycling and safe walking. Safe cycling and safe walking would have a higher priority for me. Parking has to be in places where it leads to use, say, near train stations. And we need to, first of all, focus on how can we make our centres more accessible, that people don't need to take the car all the time. Operational land should become community land. I would totally agree with that. And protection of tree canopy and shade. Absolutely, we need to make much bigger headway in that. And I've driven on Monday morning when we opened pre-poll in Coorambong, I've driven through those new developments, and to a development style where everything is flattened first and then houses are built there is just not best practice. That could be done much better. We could keep much more trees, and we need to build in a way that we can plant more trees and that we can provide more shade. One of the Greens core flutes says shade cloth for all the playgrounds. That's an often overlooked thing and absolutely something we need to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ingrid. David, would you like to give us your answer to question 4, please?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. There's a lot contained in this, so I'll do my best to get through. Foreshore, increasing in open space, including foreshore parkland. I think that's really important. I do massively in favour of that. The aspect about the Toronto Foreshore Master Plan that I'm most impressed with is around its increase in accessibility. So if we're having foreshore areas, they've got to be accessible. Parkland has to be accessible. So for those that, you know, have mobility issues, it's really important that everybody can access it. So this is a beautiful area we have, and everybody should have the ability to take part in that. Water quality in the lake and the creeks, including protection of foreshore lands. Also really important. I think that goes without saying, to be honest with you. The increase in quality of the Lake Macquarie area in terms of water quality over the last decade has been nothing short of amazing. And I think it's really important that we maintain and increase that water quality for future generations. Availability of parking and safe cycling. I agree with Ingrid in a lot of this in terms of the need for you know, an increase in active transportation. So shared pathways, people being able to cycle or walk to and from destinations. Clearly, you know, where there's need, you know, appropriate parking has to be there. But I also think it's as important that we increase our active transport options as well. Need for parkland and okay, so the operational land, community land like Bath Street. This is a really tricky one. This is something that I've wrestled with a lot. It's whilst I initially was in favour of the building of a structure on Bath Street, obviously community consensus was that wasn't appropriate. That's not what was wanted. And so, you know, having land there that is used for everybody and able to be accessed by everyone is what the community are after and what we should be looking towards. Protection of tree canopy and shade. Again, we know the coming down the road is increased in temperatures for our city. So having a green canopy and shade options for residents is really important because it protects people who are most vulnerable when it comes to increases in temperature. So I'm thinking about the elderly and people with a disability who are adversely impacted by heat waves and increased prolonged temperatures in our area. So I might just leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rosemary, would you like to answer question 4, please?
Yes, thank you. So all foreshore land should be identified for more open space. It's something to include in development applications, particularly when it comes to building heights, in the sense that overshadowing is a real risk if you're putting higher building heights around the foreshore. So I'm quite concerned about propositions to raise building heights on any of our foreshore land. And Bonnells Bay, for instance, is a suburb of retirees, and they'll find massive construction next to their homes that they bought for their retirement. There'll be a huge amount of opposition if council proposes that into the future. I have to put my glasses on so I can see. Improving the water quality of the lakes and creeks is something I visualise is a major operation in conjunction with our land care groups and our sustainable neighbourhood groups. I've seen so many overgrown waterways in this city that I'm terrified for the health of the lake, in the sense that there's, you know, lantana and many other weeds clogging our little tributaries, especially in town centres where they've been neglected for so long. I'd love to see a program of land care type programs of removing weeds from these tributaries. We can only increase safe cycling and safe walking by providing the paths that we need to do it on. Parking is a major issue, for instance, in Toronto. Opportunities to increase parking seem to have gone by. And with regard to any foreshore land that is operational, it needs to be returned to community zonings to protect it into the future. And we have to look at our council's own practices in protection of the tree canopy. I had a communication from a lady who was very concerned how council's arborist ring-barked and cut back a tree with nesting wildlife in it, in a park. And there's got to be policy on that. I mean, seriously, why? I've seen all these dead trees in parks where they've been stripped and cut right back. What's going on there? I want to investigate that further. And if it did in fact happen, that a nesting tree full of babies and parents flapping around trying to protect their babies from the tree being ring-barked and cut back while they're nesting, something's not right if that's happening. And so we as a council need to protect our trees. There's different stories when they're dangerous trees. However, just taking one back, it just depends on what the situation is, I do realise. So overall, I think we should look very closely at development and heights to the foreshore, because everybody has a right to see through to our lake. It's a visual right. It would be very damaging to suburbs to increase heights, to increase density, to perhaps provide affordable housing. So we have to find the balance there. Again, it's a big thing about balance. Parking needs to go into all planning. I'm a bit disappointed with the Bath Street site, how they didn't take the opportunity to increase parking as much as they probably could. Yet to have a good look at that one again. I did make submissions at the time, and unfortunately the concept of the Foreshore Park doesn't include its history. It's one of the more historic places in Lake Macquarie with regard to Aboriginal heritage and European heritage. So why isn't that recognised in the design? It is slightly, but not very much. So yeah, delivering the key footpaths between our major centres wherever possible is a major focus to keep everyone safe and cycling and in alternative transport. All of the open space that is available should be really considered. Thank you. 30 seconds. And it will be, it's always a balancing act. But thank you very much for allowing me to contribute there.
Thanks, Rosemary. Jason, would you like to answer question 4, please?
Yep, absolutely. Thanks again, Jeff. I appreciate the opportunity. Each of these issues is incredibly complex. At face value, they seem quite simple, but they all involve massive trade-offs. And let me explain what I mean. So in terms of increasing open space, including Foreshore Parkland, absolutely, but at what cost? In terms of Toronto Foreshore and the plan that we've talked about, I've been one of the strongest advocates for smashing down the existing buildings there and opening that up and making it usable. Equally, Bath Street, I know that's a contentious one. We just heard Rosie talk about there should be more parking there. Hang on, don't we want open space? That's a tricky one. This is an incredibly complex matter. And that flows through the whole construct of all these issues. They are complex and they have big trade-offs. In terms of public and private conflicts, to get this open space, where's it coming from? Cutting down more trees? Hope not. Smashing down more buildings. Should council be buying up private residences, demolishing them and building parks? How do the neighbours feel about that? These are incredibly complex matters that need quite a significant amount of debate, discussion and planning, because one-trick ponies can't solve these problems. Like all the trees all the time doesn't work. Simultaneously, in your questions, you talk about open space, access for all, but you're talking about more car parks. Once again, there's inherent conflict. That's a very difficult problem. Mass transport is one of those key mass transport is one of those key solutions and areas that helps deliver some solutions. The biggest thing Westward has going for it, it's got a train line, but it's underutilized. If that train service was better, less cars on the road, you need less parking. Then you need alternative means of getting from that mass transport system to the wonderful open space and foreshore areas that we've created. Council's committed down that path per the Toronto Foreshore plan. I know it's not to everyone's like, but it is infinitely better than what we have currently. Moving on to maximum heights and density near the foreshore. Heights, I'm not aware of any push currently to push up the heights. Most of those zones are set. Should they be reduced? Yeah, and sometimes they probably should. That Bath Street area is a really good example. All the heights there seem back to front to me. Like you look at the zonings and allowable heights towards the back of that Bath Street site, they're all over the place. That definitely needs to be addressed, but it needs to make sense. I don't know of a single current sitting councillor or any candidates going out saying, hey, look, we should lift these heights. Density, that's a different one. If we're going to infill, then the density goes up. If the population continues to grow and people want to move where they want, and Lake Macquarie is very attractive, then we need more residences. How do you do that? Once again, you spread and sprawl and you cut down trees and you destroy the natural environment, or you increase the density. That's a tricky one again, because now we don't want to go up, we don't want to infill, but we don't want to sprawl either. Where do our grandchildren live? Where do our grandchildren's grandchildren live? When people want to return home who were born here, went off, made their fortune around the world, where do they live? These are complex problems. And that's where you need multifaceted people. And that's one of the key things. I think I've got an innate ability to see all sides of this. I know I haven't seen eye to eye with this group on a whole pack of issues, but I'm hoping that you're listening to what I say. I get where you come from, but it's not one trick pony solution. That's the key bit. Water quality, once again, that's a no-brainer. A healthy lake is awesome for everyone. Who would want rubbish in the lake? What candidate's going to support that? Who would want pollution in the lake? Why would you do that? We need to control runoff. We need to control the storm quality, the quality of the stormwater going into the lake. A vibrant lake is our single biggest asset, whether it's from an environmental perspective or economic perspective. It doesn't matter. The lake is our jewel. Everyone here is going to protect that. You won't get that from anyone who's going to say, hey, look, yeah, let's put that at risk. And so I think we're all united on that one. In terms of livability and resilience, we talked about parking and accessibility. That's a drama, because where's the parking come from? Once again, to increase the parking, something gets smashed down. When that thing gets smashed down, whatever it was, you lose amenity. You smash down the supermarkets. So now that you have to drive to up to Costco to buy your groceries. Once again, is that a good environmental outcome? Can't really see it. The convenience of local supermarkets is very handy. So if we can't knock supermarkets down, then where do we get our cars? Do we go underground? Once again, all sorts of issues. Do we build higher? All sorts of issues. Do we buy private residences? The neighbours that are left adjacent to it aren't real happy. These are complex matters with no easy outcome. Once again, what's the solution? Better utilisation of mass transport. And anyone who tries to move around the West, I think you know already, the mass transport systems are well below the standard required. And so people remain reliant on their cars. And that creates issues in terms of traffic jams every day, pointless pollution, cars, idling, spewing gases, even electric ones. Once again, sitting there, being useful, being completely wasted as they move forward. With respect to operational land to community land, not a fan. That's been operational land for a long time. As you know, I'm reasonably happy with the solution that we've come to in the end. It's not my first choice by any means. It's probably about number 3 on my list. But no, do not support. As I said, if you select a councillor solely in relation to Bath Street, then I think you're a bloody idiot. It is that simple. You need to think more widely about bigger issues than that little block of land. Protection of canopy and shade.
That's time,
absolutely.
Jason. Sorry.
All good.
Okay. We're running very short of time. There was a question 5, which had 2 minutes each. I'm just wondering if the candidates are happy if we reduce that to 1 minute each. Is that agreeable?
That's fine, Jeff.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Well, David, can you lead off, please, with question 5, 1 minute?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'm not a fan of the wording of the question to start with. In terms of spinning, I think it is part of council's function to report the stories and the achievements of council. Clearly, there can be work done in terms of taking in the statements and queries and questions from community and providing feedback and answers that can be achieved, that can be done better. I don't think that's unusual to say, but I still believe that it's an imperative aspect of council to inform the community, and that's part of what is known as spinning, I guess, in this instance.
Okay, thanks, David. Rosemary, would you like to answer question 5, please? 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm a firm believer in honesty. You've got to be frank and honest. The community picks up on spin, as it were, very easily. They would prefer to hear the facts as they are, and I would call it, as I say, to anything that I felt was just rubbing things over and making it sound all sweet and wonderful, and when in fact there might be a more serious undertone to it.
Okay.
So it will be important to ensure that we do in fact recognise the achievements that have been made by council. I've been very impressed with quite a few things that have happened over the years. I need to know about them. However, if it's ignoring another factor I would call it out. So it is going to be touchy again. It's a balance. What can I say? And as Jason says, there's so many intricacies to communicating with your community.
That's time.
And it's very important to have an ongoing conversation with your community. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosemary. Jason, would you like to answer question 5, please?
Yep, I think I can be nice and quick on this one. I condemn and oppose the spin. Truth and transparency should prevail in every instance. I think I've shown tonight I'm a straight talker. I strongly oppose social engineering and the spin doctoring that council engages in. We both, but like both sides of the argument, have been victims of that at various times, and I think it's to our ultimate detriment. I would much prefer to ask the hard questions, make the hard statements, and let the truth be judged rather than hide in fluff. Full stop.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. Ingrid, would you like to answer question 5, please?
Yes, I think it is important for the council to let people know what they're doing, to provide facts. But the impression of spin comes from the discrepancy between being out there and listening to people, being there and going to where the people are, not just having either, well, now during COVID, it was all on the web. And I think some things have improved by being on the web and people being able to say something. But sorry?
30 seconds.
Oh, sorry. I think it's important to have meetings where the councillors, particular, but also staff, come to the people and have meetings on site. That's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're 2 minutes over. I think really most candidates have had a chance of giving us a bit of an overview. Did anyone particularly want to stay for an extra, that's going to be an extra 4 minutes? Do you want to have a wrap up?
Happy to let it die, Jeff, from my perspective.
Okay. Everyone else comfortable with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Fine.
Okay. Righto. Well, thank you to all the candidates for participating in this evening's event. And thank you to the crew behind the scenes. There's a few members who have been doing a lot of work, and a lot of work has gone into this. And thank you, the voters, because you are the people that need to make a decision now and vote. And hopefully we see an improved Lake Macquarie as a result of that, and that you make the right decision. So with that, I'll say good night and till next time. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.